A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu is loaded. Up first in hour number one, he is simply the Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Bethune-Cookman College, Lynn W. Thompson. It will be my first time talking with Lynn and the first time on the Carlos Brown Show. Looking forward to the conversation with Lynn W. Thompson, Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Bethune-Cookman College. Then, following Mr. Thompson, will be the Director of Athletics at Southern University, Coach Roman Banks. Will join him in the conversation and see how everything is going on at Southern University as far as athletics. And by the way, classes have started at Southern University. We'll join with Coach Roman Banks. Then hour number two, scheduled to join us, two guests. Of course, the coach, Coach Van Pettaway. He'll join me. And then following Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Edmond, of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Let me introduce the producer of today's show. He's always the producer, Dr. Michael Prince. Good morning to you, Dr. Prince.
Good morning, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. Looking forward to an interesting show today.
Well, it's always an interesting show, man. As a matter of fact, happy birthday to you.
Well, I know you're not talking about my physical birthday, which will be coming up in October, but it must be something else. Is it?
This actually is the beginning of the third year of the Carlos Brown Show here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, and we say happy birthday to you and many, many more.
Thank you. And when I tell you time has flown by, my goodness. 3 years, but time waits for no one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had an old fourth grade teacher used to tell us that all the time. Her name was Ella Ledbetter. She said, time
wow, what a name.
Yeah.
What a name. But you hear that when you're growing up and you don't appreciate those things, but as you get older, you think about that. What grandmother would say, or a teacher, or someone from the church would tell you, just keep living. You heard that as well.
Keep waking up.
So, yeah, it's in perspective. It really does. And as we look at continued look at athletics in a global pandemic, it is still challenges. Still tremendous challenges. It's going to be interesting to talk with Mr. Thompson of Bethune-Cookman College. We'll span the globe in that conversation, but of course, being a director of athletics is always a tough position anyway. But having to deal with what's going on now, like everyone else in this global context, I'm sure they have their challenges, and it's a challenging day-by-day situation. So you have to evolve. You have to be flexible. You have to be a lot of things.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And that's going on. And so with Mr. Thompson, Coach Banks, and then with Coach Pettaway, you always get a good perspective of just what's going on. And although he's not coaching, but still a coach in my book, he always brings a different perspective.
He brings that flavor, that swag that we need in Radio Land.
I like that. I like that. And then last week we didn't have a chance to talk to Charles Edmond, but Charles will join us today, and the last guest. And having a chance to talk with Charles, he has accepted now that this will be a year in athletics like none other.
He's finally come to grips with it, huh?
Yeah, I believe he has. I believe he has. And you know, from a local standpoint, you still have a lot of fans who still, they're not in reality. And I believe, and I can't speak for everyone, but I really believe that from a sports angle, everyone loves it. They love to go to sporting events. Athletes like to compete. But there is more to life. There are more important things than sports.
This is
and
true.
You have to put it in the proper perspective.
Very true.
It's
important, but it's not that important.
Yeah. And you can still see people are struggling with, sports not in the way that they're accustomed to. As we look this past week, you still have a lot of things going on. You have conferences and athletic departments saying that we're going to postpone and we're moving it to the spring. Where did we hear that first?
I believe they call it the Southwestern Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the SWAC.
Mm-hmm.
Trendsetters,
yes,
baby, trendsetters.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. When the spring comes and there's preparation for athletes, you're still hoping that the country's in a better situation as far as COVID-19. Because if it's not, then there'll be another decision to be made.
Right.
Whether to bypass the spring and then, look later in the year, in the fall of 2021. So, as we always say, we can do our part individually.
Absolutely. But, in all fairness, I believe the true crux of all of this is going to be dependent upon basketball. I think the NCAA has allowed football to somewhat get out of control, and they still have a pretty good handle on the basketball. Plus, when it comes to the money distribution, money is more evenly, not altogether even, but it is more fairly distributed in basketball amongst the multi-layers of Division I and various NCAA programs. And that is what all of this is going to be leading to right now. Because if you really look at it, it began with basketball, and I think it's going to continue with basketball. Football, to me, has shown that they're going to go rogue and every man for himself.
Let them go right ahead. At least, SEC, Big 12, ACC, and to basketball, NCAA basketball tournament. That's the true money maker.
Oh, yes, sir.
Huge one.
Sir.
And so you saw what happened last year, the beginning of the pandemic. And could there possibly be round two as far as no tournament?
I don't know, but we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we'll still monitor the situation. I'm going to take a time out. Scheduled to talk with Lynn Thompson, Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Bethune-Cookman College. He's scheduled to join me next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association, or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is SWACalumniassociation@yahoo.com.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you one chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Have sports, we'll travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics.
Drivers and bicyclists both have the right to be on the road and travel safely. And when we're on the road together, safety is a shared responsibility. State law requires drivers to maintain at least 3 feet of clearance when passing bicyclists. And bicyclists should always ride with the direction of traffic and follow all traffic signals. It's safer. It's courteous. It's the law. A message from the Regional Planning Commission Pedestrian and Bicycle Program.
You're looking to expand your business or services? Let the Open Mic Broadcast Network help lead the way. With our customized campaigns, we are definitely able to reach your target audience. For more information, dial 832-213-8824. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, serving the community through faith and athletics. The voice of student athletics.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Lynn Thompson, we're scheduled to talk with him, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. We're trying to make the connection with Lynn W. Thompson, Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Bethune-Cookman. If you would like to send text message or a message, you can do so a couple of ways. The Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com. That's an email address. A lot of you like to just kind of send comments or questions via the Carlos Brown Show Facebook Messenger page. And that is proven to be very worthy. You can do it that way. Also, you can leave a message on the Carlos Brown Show Facebook page as well. I'm on Instagram, Carlos Brown Show, also on Twitter. So all the social media outlets, you can find the Carlos Brown Show. Also on YouTube, the show. You can hear it every week. As Dr. Prince stated, year number 3 is officially here. So I don't know if we should do a celebration or something of that sort. I'm not sure, but I will say this: always support Black media financially if you can. I know it's tough times. I understand that for a lot of people, but whenever you can, support them. All platforms.
You know what I just thought about, Carlos?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they can help you celebrate your 3rd year with a donation to the Carlos Brown Show.
Well, I put it on the Facebook page, the Carlos Brown Show. That's a Cash App. I would appreciate that as well.
Okay.
Because it's been the time has flown by, really.
It really has. It really
and
has.
I've been hosting a radio show for quite a while. Long time, actually. 15 years plus. And I've seen a lot as far as how the shows started out. It wasn't any social media when we first started out, but now it's an integral part of, of your broadcast. You can interact that way. It was basically, when you first started, it was phone lines. People would call in, and oh boy, some of the topics over the years were just outstanding. And believe it or not, some of the issues that you talked about 15, 20 years ago are still an issue. But there's been some new challenges as well. You can look and see that the student athletes are trying to, once again, unionize. And there was an article that I was reading the other day. It kind of goes along the concept of when student athletes trying to unionize, it's more about stopping that than the health issue. And some of my colleagues, some of the people I've talked to, they've used the term athletic sharecropping. Student athletes getting paid for their likeness. And I remember when I was a student at Southern University, one of my instructors, at the time, it was a question of getting student athletes paid as far as like a stipend. And she had Coach Pete Richardson to come to the class, and she liked to get involved and hit both sides of the conversation. So it kind of ended up being, well, schools like a Southern or Bethune-Cookman, could you afford to pay a stipend? Then some of the other questions that came up. Would you pay, I use the term pay, well, a stipend for football and basketball? Would it all be equal across no matter what sport? Women's sports? And she argued, whatever the stipend is, you should be across the board. Say if it's a $200 stipend. But then you look at all of the money, particularly on the higher level within the NCAA, the money that these student athletes are making, millions and millions of dollars. So at the end of the class period, it was more question marks than concerns, than being happy about it. Got a text message. Thank you.
I don't.
Carlos, the remaining Power 5 conferences going rogue is only going to work for the conferences for going to the spring after it becomes a utter train wreck. Well, basically it's come down to what? The SEC, Big 12,
and the ACC.
And the ACC. And
they're mad. So, they're mad at the Pac-12 and the Big 10. Y'all hung us out there.
Mm-hmm. Then you had the Sun Belt still, the AAC conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Back to your statement about should the stipend be the same across the board? I don't think so. I really don't.
Well, and that was some of the questions that were brought up. And she had Coach Richardson come to the class. And basically he was saying it's going to end up being more questions of how you're going to structure it.
It's a simple fix, I believe. It's a simple fix. The old saying, to whom much is given, much is required, right? How can you ask for a $200 stipend when your sport is not generating any income? It's not.
Well,
not making sense.
On the campuses, it's basically, well, I guess if we look at our schools, it's football only.
Well, no, you would have football and basketball. I could see doing football.
But
and
how
basketball.
many? But how many? Now I'm talking about on our conferences.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. You could do a stipend. I mean, you could do stipend across the board, but not evenly across the board. It just does not compute. And you can do it. You can say a $200 stipend for football and basketball players because they are the ones generating the income. And then everybody else, their ceiling is going to be about $100. I'm sorry. The ceiling is $100. Don't mean you come to $100. It might be 50 in some cases, but you could do it. And I think part of the problem that we have on the lower tiers is that they want to evenly distribute the money, and you can't because it's not enough money to go around. Now, those Power 5 conferences, they can do that, but we cannot, and we continuously try to do what they're doing, and it's proven time after time that we cannot do what they do. Our money is not long enough.
What's the saying? Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, well, you rob Peter to pay Paul.
And then you're robbing both, actually.
Right, and then you're going to carjack Jimmy.
Wow, Jimmy.
Yeah,
it would be a tough situation for lower resources schools.
But you know what it would do? You know what it would do if you were predicated on what type of income your sport would generate? It would create some of these coaches to be a little bit more creative of getting people to come out to their games to help increase that stipend. Because let's be honest, some of us are not really understanding the totality of a good marketing scheme. And they do these simple little social media trick ponies, if you would, and then they say, well, we tried. But you have to beat the bushes day in and day out. It could be done, but it's going to take some work. But to start out the gate, you, on an FCS level, not just HBCU, you cannot expect a baseball, softball, soccer to come in at $200. Look like our guys coming in, so you go ahead and we get some things set up here.
We're scheduled to visit with Lynn Thompson, and he hopefully we'll have him in. He was having some issues there, and just let me know if we have him. Well, yeah, let's do this. Time out, and when we come back, we'll let you know. You're listening.
The president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swacalumuniassociation@yahoo.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Well, we have a situation where we're not going to be able to speak with Lynn W. Thompson, Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Bethune-Cookman College, but actually the gentleman who helped set up the interview is joining us for a few minutes, and I'll let him introduce himself to the listening audience. You have the floor, sir.
Hi, Carlos. Dan Ryan, senior writer and historian at Bethune-Cookman. You're going to get Lynn next week or everything like that. They're having it's an offshore issue. He's offshore right now. He does regret it, and he'll return this next week. But, you know, you and I can talk about restaurants in Baton Rouge because I am really looking forward to coming out and spending time with you next year.
I appreciate it, Dan, and sometimes that's the way things happen.
Oh, come on. I'm a radio vet. You know, this is radio. Come on.
Oh, no. I pulled you up, and when you helped set up the interview, you did talk about the great cuisine in Louisiana, which, if you've seen me, you understand it is outstanding.
Well, you're going to laugh because, and not in Texas, because I'm an indoor football refugee, and we played Lake Charles. I live in Frisco, right outside Dallas, and, you know, some of the, you know, obviously the Texas barbecue. I'll tell you a story how I'm at Randy White's barbecue on the day after, you know, and then Randy White, the former Dallas Cowboy linebacker, comes up and goes, "Well, I'm Randy White, and I'm glad you like my barbecue." I'm going, 3 hours ago I was taking the Texas Stadium tour. It's like, so it's like, okay, all right, I'm in Randy White's barbecue restaurant, and Randy White comes over and asks me how his brisket is. It's like, that doesn't get any better. But Lake Charles, Louisiana. There's a poor boy. Daryl's, the best poor boy I ever ate was Daryl's. And there was a soul food place. I wish I could remember. Oh my God, it was fantastic. That's half the reason I'm looking forward to coming back to the SWAC, and being in the SWAC. You talk about the great football, you talk about the bands. I'm talking about the food.
Well, that is part of the Louisiana culture. You're absolutely right. And when Bethune-Cookman visits Baton Rouge for a game, whether it's football or basketball, I have you, Dan. I'm going to take care of it.
I appreciate it. Well, the thing is also too, we joke to everything like that. The one thing I'm really looking forward to personally is, believe it or not, all these years I've been at an HBCU, I've never been to Grambling. I am excited about that. I am looking forward to going to Jackson. I'm looking forward to going out to Alcorn. Believe it or not, I actually goes, can I go? It's like, we played Mississippi Valley State last year, and goes, it's like, wait, Dan, you want to go to Edabina? It's like, I had to go to Edabina. If I'm going to be an HBCU SID, then I've got to go to I have to go to Grambling. I have to go to Orangeburg. I've had to go to Bragg. I've had to, I had to walk the hollow grounds of the Delta where satellite through to Jerry Rice. It's like, okay, I've been here. Can we go? Well, luckily we won. So, but, so that's, the traditions and everything like that. That's the things I'm most excited about.
And I appreciate you saying that, because, Dan, one of the questions I was going to have for Mr. Thompson is, quite simply, what has been the conversation, the feedback of Bethune-Cookman, heading to the Southwestern Athletic Conference?
Well, it's just signs of the time. We're all looking to figure out the best fit and how we're going to get through these times. And, if you know Mr. Thompson, and I'm going to vouch for him, Mr. Thompson and our board of trustees are greatly, these are people, they did their due diligence. What is best for Bethune-Cookman at this time? And our best option was to be, was to join the SWAC. And it was nothing, we've been in the MEAC for 40 years. It's been a wonderful 40 years, everything like that. But this is what's the best decision for us at this best time is, to keep our, and it's a ministry, to keep our ministry going and to give us, the best feasible way to keep, our athletics program going.
And Dan, looking at some of the information, of course, you're in a football dominant geographical blueprint, but you guys have had tremendous success in baseball. Mr. Thompson on the NCAA baseball committee, softball, basketball. So it's a total package.
I like to talk about you're going to laugh. Most of my dealings the past few years have been everything but football. And, especially with baseball, 2 years ago we take Florida to the 7th game of the NCAA regional. Florida went on to the national championship. Softball was beating Oregon. The national prominence is that, we ran a track town with the track team a couple of years ago. My women's basketball program, we're playing Notre Dame in March. All across the board, we've had success. So, and I'm looking forward to that as well. I just got to get, like I said, instead of spending my Marches in Norfolk, I got to spend Marches in Birmingham or Houston, and then instead of hoping to God the Rockets are in town when we play Texas Southern, instead of the Wizards being in town when we play Howard.
Yeah. I'm visiting with Dan Ryan, historian, senior writer for Bethune-Cookman, and I know personally I'm excited because FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, what they bring to the table. But I got to ask you this. This is a football question.
Okay.
How has Bethune-Cookman been so successful against the juggernaut FAMU? Just tremendous success. 8, 9 in a row football games?
Yeah, 9 is quite fine, as we like to say here. And and I'm going to be honest with you. There are times, especially 2 of the last 3 years, I look at that, and I've been on that field, and I'm wondering how the heck we did it. We have, first of all, Terry Sims is a phenomenal coach. Mm-hmm. He said this: if my son wanted to play football, I'd want him to play for Terry Sims, because you're gonna be a better football player, and you're gonna be a better human being, and you know that your coach cares about you. I look at these guys, and again, I really don't have that day-to-day experience with them as I do with some of the other things. They're resilient. They would run the walls for each other, and they find a way. They might not be the most talented team, but they'll find a way. It's like when 2 years ago we had Tiberius Peters makes 2 picks in the final minutes. Isaac Voss, we had a kid we won because a kid named Cameron Rigby, goes through 2 blockers and stuffs a fake punt. We're a very opportunistic team. We have a lot of mental fortitude. Matter of fact, I'm going to plug one of my up-and-coming stories. Is we had 17 fourth-quarter comebacks in the decade. That was second in FCS behind Eastern Washington and most among the HBCUs. So if you're making those fourth-quarter comebacks, you've got the mental state to be able to come back. And I'm going to plug this too. We also have the conditioning. We have a strength and conditioning director. His name is Corliss Fingers, and she's phenomenal. And let's face it, when it comes out, if you're in shape in the fourth quarter, that's an extra yard. That's an extra step. So it's just everything that comes into play.
Now that's interesting, Dan, that you mentioned Coach Fingers
from Southern.
I got a chance to interview her, and that was you understand. I understand why she made the move. It was a family decision, but she is a tremendous jewel. in college athletics.
Matter of fact,
I can say that.
If you go, matter of fact, when I go into, matter of fact, I'm going into the office today. Even though, what am I doing going into the office on Saturday in August? It's like, well, I've been in isolation for 3 weeks. I need to get out of this apartment. It's like you got to, there is a she did a podcast, so it'll be on the BCU Athletics Twitter feed with the link and stuff like that. It's she knows her stuff, and it is an honor to call her a colleague and her friend.
Yes, sir, and she's tough too. I've seen her in work, and I'm gonna tell you, I felt the wrath of her once.
Well, no, she said she had a cardiac program for me. I'm going, nah, I don't think so. It's like, I have enough problems going on right now.
Yeah, I thought you in that aspect as well. But continue on, Dan. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really, like I said, with that, I've had nothing. I am really looking forward to meeting everybody out there. I've got a couple really good conversations out. Ryan McGinty is a friend of mine up at Texas Southern. I'll tell you, and it's the little things. Last year, our volleyball team was stuck out there because of the hurricane, and then the tournament we were supposed to have was canceled, but they scheduled 2 games with Texas Southern, and so it's like we were working back and forth. Our coach played one of the games was at her old high school, which was cool. But I'm going, well, how come we're not playing on the at Texas Southern? I'm going, come on, we've already been disqualified by one thing, and goes, Dan, we're getting ready for the Democratic debate, and I'm going, okay, I got nothing. You're right. We'll play whatever we want. So. But I'm really in this business. Driscoll or Jackson State too. Matter of fact, he's also promised me some good shrimp and grits, so I'm looking forward to that. The opportunity to work and network, new experiences, and it's all about the experience. Even though, you probably guys are sick of driving up to the Delta. I mean, I am so thankful I had that opportunity to go to the Delta, and I talked. Satellite and I visited for 5 minutes, and you're going to laugh. I covered Satellite when he was quarterback in the Arena Football League. So we talked about that. So, it's tremendous network. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and you're right. The relationships, the new relationships that you'll make, some will be a renewal of relationships that maybe they haven't seen each other in years, and you talk about the sporting events, other events besides football, baseball. A lot of conversation that we've heard already is, baseball. Wow, they can't wait to see.
Well, we have a young competition. We have a young coach named John Hernandez, and I really, really love this kid. I mean, he's the 3rd youngest coach, Division I coach in America right now. He has his Miami network, and he's loaded. So I'm looking forward to that. You are going to, I'm a basketball guy. Both our basketball programs are just phenomenal. It's like, I actually I wanted to go into, I actually goes, I'm watching, I think I wish I was in the bubble right now. Cause my local basketball was acting. It's also, the one story we have is like Coach Blair Lewis's husband, Eric, is in the bubble right now. He's an NBA official. It's like, so now you're going to see on my game notes like what my coach improved to 2-1 on nights her husband tees up Russell Westbrook. It's the stuff like that we can't need to get back to going and doing again.
Well, maybe we can. I've got you for the seafood, and as far as the NBA, I'm a huge Miami Heat fan. So. Oh
well, I was a Heat. Matter of fact, the last time I was in Miami was when LeBron was down there, and we had a kid from St. Vincent St. Mary's. His name, who played, everything like that. So I'm down there. It's like, and he goes, well, tell LeBron I said hi when you're down there. So I had my credential, and I'm working for one of my Utah papers. I'm picking my daughter from FIU. He goes, if you don't interview LeBron, I'm going to disown you. The bottom line is I get LeBron for 1 minute. And for the next 6 months, my street cred was off the chain. It's like 1 minute with this guy. It's like I go back the next week, and he looks at and the kid looks at me and goes, "Oh, great, you dropped my name." I'm going, "Well, you said drop your name." And what was funny, the next week we go back there was an LSU. We played at LSU, and then we played FIU, and then we got tickets for a Heat game. He goes, "Well, are you going to go talk to your boy LeBron?" I'm going, "No, I'm going to hang out with you guys. You guys are a lot more. You guys are my guys." So that was just a cool trip. And the Heat, I love what they're doing down there right now. I mean, they got a good up and coming team again. They're fun to watch.
Well, maybe you can give me some Miami paraphernalia. Will we?
Now that's hard to do, especially those new pastel jerseys are selling out down there. That's gonna be hard.
I'll take a baseball hat.
All right, we can work on that. We have 2 kids in the Marlins organization right now, so that's pretty cool. Anthony Maldonado was in the rookie. I mean, did that. Demetrius Sims actually had a couple of swings back in March swing training with the parent club, and probably would have been playing AAA right now, hadn't the minor thing. But we got so definitely the Marlins will be a little bit more of a hookup for us than the Heat right now, but we'll work on that too.
Well, I appreciate you stepping in for Lynn Thompson, and we'll just reschedule, and hopefully everything is okay for Mr. Thompson.
Everything's just we're NASCAR down, as we say in Daytona. It's just one of them deals, and we'll make sure we get on that. But listen, anytime I get a chance to plug Corliss Fingers, that's a good thing, right?
Oh yeah, tremendous person and tremendous in her profession. That she was just outstanding, and she's sorely missed.
Yep. I will pass that along. So,
well, Dan, I appreciate that, and appreciate you coming on for a few minutes, and we look to reschedule with Mr. Thompson, and we'll talk with you soon as well.
Looking forward to it, my friend.
All right. Take care, Dan. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, bye.
All right. That was Dan Ryan, historian, senior writer for Bethune-Cookman. If you just tuning in and you're expecting Lynn Thompson, isn't able to join us on today's show, but we'll reschedule and we'll let you know when that will be. I'll take a quick time out. When I come back, I'm going to visit with Coach Roman Banks, Director of Athletics at Southern University. You're listening to the Polo Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Prince, the pastor of the Temple of Refuge Ministries located in Prairie View, Texas. I am extending a personal invitation to you to come and worship with us Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Simply dial 857-777-0000 and join us for our morning worship. In the event that you miss us live, you can always go to our on-demand center at 720-721-1558 to listen to our latest sermons and Bible studies. Temple of Refuge Ministries, where we're building the kingdom, one soul at a time. Numbers to dial again for our live sermons, 857-777-0000 and on demand, 720-721-1558. Be blessed.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Once again, I want to thank Dan Ryan, historian, senior writer for Bethune-Cookman College. We will reschedule Lynn Thompson from Bethune-Cookman College very soon. Now I'm going to speak to the athletic director of athletics at Southern University, Coach Roman Banks. Coach, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Is that reggae music I heard in the background?
You know it.
That's
like
how
that?
you feeling today, huh? I got you. Yes, sir.
Well, you know, Coach, and I appreciate that, during this global pandemic, and sometimes life can be tough, one thing that always gets me in a better situation is reggae music. I can't wait to make it back to Jamaica, to be honest with you.
Well, let's see if we can get past this pandemic so you can get those traveling right.
Yeah, that's true. We will get through it. That's been my motto. It's been some ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we'll get through it. As far as Southern University athletics, the last time we had talked to you, we didn't have the news that Southwestern Athletic Conference is going to postpone fall sports and move to the spring. But I do remember talking to you, and you kind of said that would be the ideal situation. And that was before the SWAC had decided on that. So now with that being said, still a lot of work to be done to hopefully get ready for spring athletics as far as the fall sports. Can you kind of talk about how you're feeling right now?
Yeah, so obviously, I thought it was huge just because of the fact that dealing with COVID-19 in this pandemic era, how expensive it cost with testing and trying to put your team in a bubble and doing the necessary things that it takes to try to mitigate the virus. And obviously, I thought it would be very hard for limited resources institutions to provide those services. And I think it's very hard, even if you do have those resources, to still provide those services. And so I just think that after going to the table with the council ADs and president, that we did make the right decision for our level, not just looking at our book and not opening up any other conference book or any other schools within different power structures or anything. So I thought that was the very best decision for us. I was always an advocate of that because we need to buy ourselves some time, because in our situation, we do need medicine and science to come up with some vaccines and some treatment plans that can lessen this virus if we had some type of outbreak, or if our student athletes get this virus, and learning more and more about how it affects the heart and different things. I think you see across the country that these conferences are electing to do, not play in the fall. But I think that with the leadership of our commissioner and our other members of our conference, ADs and council presidents, that we came out with not just canceling our sports, but pushing it back to the fall, because we do think, to the spring, because they give us a chance to see what's going on and how everything is affected by vaccine and medicine, and get a chance to kind of bring some type of normalcy back on our campus structure as it relates to sports. And I think sports is a great healer. I think it brings people together, but it also has to be done in a safe environment. And so with football, because of our level that we play in, we're not bowl eligible. We were able to make that determination very quickly, and now we're moving forward with providing a schedule was probably going to provide something like 2 or 3 home games, possibly 4 for each institution, but for sure 3 games. And you will play everybody in your division, and then you'll play 1 at home and 1 away on the crossover division. And then you have a chance, if possible, to play out of conference or another crossover game. So that's the formula that we're working on to get this football schedule done for the spring. And there will be a championship. The best record will host the championship, and the 2 division will play for the championship. And so I think that gives us a chance to try to generate some type of lost revenue, as well as putting our student athletes in a safer environment. Now, I will say, for the record, is that, this is still dependent on that we do get the right answers to this virus as it relates to healing the land, as it relates to medicine and a vaccine. And the other point to that is, there could be volleyball and soccer and cross country to possibly fall under the umbrella in which baseball and softball did, where there possibly can be no season, especially if it's going to affect eligibility. And you don't want to jeopardize the student athletes if we can get them a full year to play some type of schedule that's not championship affiliated. And so that's a conversation that we're having. And I think that the commissioner have to speak with the NCAA to make sure that in volleyball, if they're not going to go with championships, and can we play some type of season in the spring that won't affect eligibility, so a student athlete won't lose their eligibility. So and I say that about volleyball, but that's for all other sports, soccer and also cross country. And so there's still a working recipe that can be that we're still working through as it relates to those sports.
That is very interesting because I like the way you said it. As far as I've used the term being flexible, because it's still contingent on COVID-19, the test and the numbers being, coming down. And if not, then the conference has left themselves flexibility of not having, sports in the spring.
The thing about it is that we're hopeful for winter sports, men and women basketball, but as you see, some conferences have went as far as is postponing things until the calendar year, until January. And so there's starting to be strong consideration, unless some changes come, that basketball would not start on time. Now, I do think that they would do everything they can to push basketball back, because I believe that the NCAA men's basketball tournament is a revenue gainer for the NCAA, and they depend heavily on that to run their organization. And in my opinion, I think that if we had to play through the summer, that they'll do whatever it needs to happen to push it back a month or so. But obviously, there are some schools that are canceling not just the fall sports, but they're canceling sports to the calendar year, and so that can affect the start date, and that can affect even some games that you were scheduled to play out of conference with some other counterpart, some other universities.
Visiting with Coach Roman Banks, Director of Athletics at Southern University. And Coach Banks, I was reading the other day, and just kind of get your thoughts on this, and it's pertaining to basketball, and then we'll get back to conference matters. But some schools and conferences had kind of mentioned and talked about, and then basketball having a bubble. I guess, looking at the NBA, but that couldn't be something that will be considered by the majority of conferences that, don't have the resources to do that. Am I off base on that?
No, you're totally right. It's what's good for others, not good for everybody. And obviously you hate to see it, but resources come back down the pipe to all of this. What are you able to do as a campus institution to protect your student athletes and as a conference? And so obviously, there have been conversations about trying to bubble, teams for basketball. But then again, you can't get a true functioning bubble, especially when you start talking about out of conference games and you start talking about travel and doing different things at the college level. It's not like we all can go to one satellite location and stay and end up having rules and regulations just in that area, and we in one common place playing these games. Now, I can see that happening as it relates to the NCAA tournament when it gets to that point, to try to mitigate the situation as much as possible. But you're talking about teams traveling to go play other teams, testing before you leave, testing when you get there, who's going to pay for the testing, and tracing all your steps back and forth. And so I just think that's probably unrealistic. I do see a scenario once you get to your travel site, for 2 or 3 days that you're locked in and you're not going anywhere. And so I could see some type of working recipe to be discussed about that, but it's no way that you can put a collegiate level in a true bubble unless it's tournament play.
I understand. I appreciate your being candid about that. Back to the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and let's say if everything goes according to plan, and you're set to play, of course, football. You'll have the conditioning before the season, I guess, starting in January. Coach, would it still be, as far as in the planning stages, that you still have to be flexible, and do you still take the plan of going by day? Will there still be changes that you'll have to make, and being flexible with that plan?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. 'Cause you see every day things are changing, and I guess it's like anything else. The more information you get and you can educate yourself on it, the better you can respond and react to it. And so we are moving with caution because one thing we do know, and that the virus is here and that the virus is not going anywhere. It's what we can do to mitigate the virus. And so there are precautions that's going to have to be there because we know that this type of virus exists from now until, as it relates to how we enter, leave, how we clean, how we travel. A lot of things is just some things that been unspoken, grab and go boxes, and not people serving themselves around a buffet set. It has to be served, plexiglass, a lot of different things. And so we're as we travel and as we, talk with our counterparts and talk conference wise and put these type of medical doctors and professionals in front of us to suggest our policies and procedures. We're learning these things as we go. And I would assume that we still have a lot of information to learn. And so there are adjustments that we're making now that's going to be used with a vaccine or with medicine regardless to protect our student athletes.
And of course, Coach Banks, the cost of this now, testing and stuff, I guess some universities, and I know you can't speak for other universities, but for Southern University, but you can only speak for Southern University, testing-wise, were you able to handle that financially, or is that something that is still ongoing?
Well, the truth of the matter is that I'm thankful for our relationship as an athletic department with Carroll South. Okay. And we've been able to partner up with them with testing. Now, here's part of the problem. As you start getting into games, then you have to turn over the test results very quickly, or you can lose your whole offensive line. And so we are working to try to structure that a little bit better, where it's a 24, 48-hour turnaround. And so that's, we can get a test and we can get a test back in 7 to 10 days. I mean, all the athletic department staff, I think that was on Monday, we just tested again. And, that's 7 to 10 days. But, dealing with sports, 7 to 10 days is too long. And so
yes, sir.
You go ahead and you have to quarantine for 14 days and you fool around and have your whole offensive line out because that offensive line had one person, that's in a workout group or in the apartment with them. And now it's 3 others. And now they have to quarantine and test, and they can't come back until they get a negative test result. And if it's going to take 7 to 10 days, you out a week or 2 weeks. And so this can affect a lot of things if you don't have the money to require the resources to make testing better. And so I'm thankful for Carroll South because they, we one of the few schools probably in our conference that can have some type of consistent testing as such, but also we have to make sure that our test results grow into getting those test results back. And look, I understand. I mean, it's a high. It's a lot of testing going on, and now it's the backlog on testing is a bag up, and so I understand that, and that's something that we have to work on and deal with from an athletic standpoint.
Yeah, I could see, it's a tough situation. I mean, the stress, you can have the best of plans, and you have to be flexible, and your plans, they have to evolve on a daily basis at times. And with all that being said, now that school is back in session at Southern University, now I guess all the planning, now you're kind of getting a somewhat your first test.
Right. And we have had those challenges already at quarantining. And so, when I say challenges, it has been a challenge because you want to make sure you're taking care of the student athletes. And look, and it's not from all challenges from that we are facing with some of our students. It wasn't them going out partying either. It was them doing some things in conjunction with the university, good students, and helping and showing leadership and contracted the virus. And so you don't have to be out. I think that's the thing about out, socializing, doing anything, or you can be trying to do everything right. And if you don't take the right precautions, still the virus knock at your door. And the other thing about it is that this is not typical because you can test today and catch the virus tomorrow. And so that's the reason why the testing, a constant pattern of testing is very responsive for us to have because of the challenges of student athletes. And look, you have to ask yourself, let's take, I talked about the eligibility for soccer and cross country and volleyball, but as a student athlete, possibly get a chance your senior year, you're only going to play 2 to 3 home games and probably 6 or 7 games. Do you play this year? Or do you redshirt? You do have a COVID policy, opting out, and trying to, you have mitigated circumstances that we can try to get a waiver with the NCAA. And so I could very well see in the spring that could be possible for some of our student athletes to probably say, this is not a real season. I'm not getting all the total benefit that I think I deserve to get out of it, or I'm not comfortable with playing right now. And so, you possibly can see a couple of players and standout players that may opt out, may not say this is the right time for me. So, and I'm aware that possibly is going to happen. And we have seen some of the requests of student athletes in some of these conferences, what they were requesting if they played. So, it's a lot of moving parts that still have to, be fixed as we go forward.
And Coach, when that happens, say if it's a group of student athletes, within the conference or at Southern University, and they don't feel comfortable or they want to know if the protocol from your angle is following, they know they have to do their part. If that happens, then you have to, as a leader, sit down and listen to your student athletes. If a group of them came to you across multiple sports, I think you still have to sit down, right, and discuss the matter with them and try to get this thing settled.
Well, you do, and we do have our student athlete council that we get and ask a lot of questions and formulate our policies through they surveys and their responses. But you have to be, right now. I think a lot of things is on. Obviously, you write a policy holistically, but I think a lot of things within a policy, as student athletes come to you, will be dealt with individually because all cases aren't the same. And so, in our practice, from an NCAA standpoint, has always been able to deal with things and read and write what's written. And so you either did or you didn't do it. So you made a violation or you didn't get a violation or you got a waiver on this. But I think each case will be managed individually now going forward because there are different circumstances for everybody, even playing the same sport. And so that's the difficult part about it. You know, you got to take your time and you have to work through the process.
Yeah, point well taken. Visiting with Coach Roman Banks, Director of Athletics at Southern University. And Coach, wow, pandemic, global, COVID-19. Boy, when you get past this, then you just have to deal with fanatics and fans alums looking at who you playing, who's the schedule, what it looks like. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman.
I'd much rather dealing with it. They called me the other day, had the interview, and I didn't, inherit a job from unusual data ban to probationary periods, and it seemed like I can't, the storm has risen again. So, but with that being said, I just think that, we have the tools in our tool shed to work through this, and we're going to work through it. And obviously, my sight's still on November, the month of November 21, when we all probation as well. And so I just think we have made great strides during all our challenges, have won championships, have had MVPs, coaches of the years, and all those type of things, and academically off and running to a great start. So I just hope, I said this before this pandemic came, that I thought we was on a level playing field now, and our expectation was to go to another level. And so that's still my expectations once we fight through this. Visiting with Coach Roman Banks for a few more minutes, Director of Athletics at Southern University. See, Coach, when you come on, questions, comments. A listener says, sorry if I missed it, but did you all discuss APR impacts due to COVID-19? I know there's waivers, for some things, but as far as APR, you guys at Southern, you're still on target to achieve your goals? Oh, yeah. I think, I don't know, we did our conference a couple of weeks ago, alumni conference or so, and, we did a presentation from the academic side, had Traven on, and our scores are out of sight. And so, we are still the poster child for the NCAA as it's turning things around academically and APR. And so we still getting kudos for that, and they using us as a shining example. So, yeah, we're on task. I mean, the challenge, we were very challenged when we had to, stop school and go to online last year, but our academic team did a great job because we still had to achieve those numbers, and we achieved those numbers and kind of sort of overachieved them because we got a lot of teams with 1,000 APR score this year. So we're heading in the right direction. We hope that if those challenges come again, that we have to stop. We kind of been through that, and so we'll be ready for that challenge if we had to go totally online as well. But our academic team been working overtime, and that area is led by Dr. Scott. And so, Ms. Dillon and Corman King doing a great service, and the staff over there in that area for me. Well, Coach Banks, I've had Dr. Scott on twice because I hadn't talked to him before, and very nice guy, basketball guy. And then I actually had him on with Dr. Cable. So, and kind of the conversation came up after, I guess, the interview, that there are a lot of directors of athletics with basketball background. So your name came up as well. Now, I'm not going to go. I want to give somebody a fit in the background back there. I'm not going to ask about the competition as far as the basketball teams in the conference. But does it make a difference in a way to have a director of athletics that expertise is in basketball? Because I'm going to make this statement: basketball is really on the upswing in the conference, in my opinion. I don't know if such it would make a difference. That's in the eyes of the beholder. But obviously, I just think that this is being athletic director is a business, and you have to make business decisions along with having a good feel for leadership, and being around the business perhaps all my entire life, from a player all the way up through. You have alliances, and you build rapport, and so you depend on some of your mentors to kind of help you see you through. And so I think that I have had that great toolage all the way up that has helped me incline to help make decisions. And look, I don't have all the answers. I say it all the time, so I hold all our assistant ADs and everybody accountable. So we can make the best decision for Southern University, not roaming things just as the athletic director, going into a room on my own, making my own decisions.
And very modest, Coach Banks. I guess I should rephrase it. With a basketball background, I think it helps the basketball programs to have a person who lead athletics that can understand the special needs and problems if they occur. The basketball program.
Being in that business, because quiet as kept, I mean, you know it from a standpoint what game guarantees mean in basketball, and that's one of the sports that you can level the playing field out pretty quickly. And if you make it to the NCAA tournament, it's really a revenue changer now for your athletic department because of the type of money that you get over a 5-year period. And so it's important, and people in other conferences have always invested into that basketball area quiet as kept because that's a revenue pool. And so coming in, that was my mindset of understanding what it takes to be at the top consistently to have a chance to win and go to the NCAA tournament, because I know what that revenue can do for our athletic department. And it's also a cost-friendly sport where you can invest in that and make some major moves where you can lower some major recruits. So to give you an example, the cost of attendance. Most universities have cost of attendance. Southland Conference, for example, one of our competitors, they have cost of attendance. And so you perhaps can play a game, and cost of attendance means that you and I can get recruited no matter we get financial aid or not. We get a certain type of stipend, $2,000, $2,500 a semester, while we're in school. And, what student athlete don't want, that doesn't entice, especially at that level. When you start talking about the Power Fives and bigger conferences and bigger universities, they can do more. But obviously that was one of the next plans before this happened, to try to get our men and women basketball team as our study guide, because they could play the game guarantee and we could fund that stipend, or we can fund that cost of attendance through that game guarantee. And we will see and have that study of the better athlete we get, what it does for our recruiting when we put that on the table to entice a student athlete to come with all the other conferences having that opportunity. And I know some schools in our league that's being progressive, that's working on having that, and I definitely want to beat them to the punch.
Still competition, I say. Director of athletics, Coach Banks, but you still have that competitive fire in you.
Yeah, well, I think it's from an athletic director standpoint, is trying to the competition come with putting things in place for your student athletes where they can be successful on and off the court, and for your coaches so they can have success, so we can represent our alumni and fans very, very well as it relates to graduating our student athletes and winning championships. And so, in this business, we low resource institution, but still a facility matters. Still a meal plan matters. Still a dormitory space where you live in, or apartment that you can offer with some taste. All that matters. And so, from a athletic director standpoint, that's our challenge. That's my challenge to try to put these things the best as possible I can. So, in other words, as a general manager, I can help my team win.
Yeah, and speaking of that, reading some statistics, basketball attendance up.
Yes.
At Southern, men and women.
Yes. I think that fire is coming back, and we've seen that attendance grow. I think Sean and Coach Funches have really taken it to another level, which Coach Pugh left off. I think basketball, in my transition, we was in our highs and it kind of, for a year, kind of leveled off. But now I think that Sean, Coach Woods is here now, and we have really market the programs and market the coaches where people are coming out and making it more of an event instead of a game. And so I'm hoping to see that dome, continue to grow and pack that place out. We're looking to do some things that can liven the game experience with the dance cam and all those things. So we are putting fiber into a old system that was analog. And so these things I think will help us bring the game closer to our fans, and people will come out because they will enjoy the event. And perhaps when they come out because the event is good, our coaches and athletes are doing a good job where they respect how hard they're working and they keep coming.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. We could go on longer, but respectful of your time on a Saturday morning, we'll end it right here. But I will offer a closing comment by you, comments as far as addressing the Southern and SWAC Nation.
Yeah, and so like always, I really got to have had the chance to see the fiber, the core of Southern University, fans, Jaguar Nation, and all that support us during these tough times. And I can't say it enough, and I'm speaking for all 350 plus student athletes, all our coaches on our staff and administrators and even the president of the university, that we appreciate you all a million. And these are some tough times for us and some challenging times. And so we just had a fundraiser, and the link is still on Stand United campaign. You go to gojazzsports.com. And please, whether it's $1 or $100, please help us make a pledge so we can fight through this pandemic and make sure that we are funding our student athletes academically and team-wise, because we know that we have had some challenges with our budgets being cut and not able to produce that type of revenue with game guarantees and season tickets as such. So I'm going to ask that you all go to gojazzsports.com and look at that Stand United campaign and definitely send some gifts to the athletic department. And also be aware and stay close to us, because we have a lot of things coming that we all can be a part of. And during these tough times as well, I want to say that we're going to be doing some special things and enhancing our baseball facilities. That project was launched before this time, and that's going to move forward. And so here in the near future, I know we're going through some tough times, but some good things are still happening for us, and we're going to continue to work hard to make you all happy. I thought we had a good football schedule this season. It took me 2 or 3 years to get in this space, to trade off with some schools to make that happen. So I hopefully that I can make that happen again sooner than later once we get ourselves going back. But I want to appreciate everybody. And Carlos, I want to thank you for always engaging us so we can tell our story as it relates to athletics and make everybody aware. I call it the real deal of what's going on in athletics all the time.
No problem, Coach. I'm glad I was able to help. And, boy, I tell you, you hear, you get feedback all the time, and not just from Southern alum, but, I'm really appreciative of the alums or supporters of the other schools in the conference. And they do listen, and they understand, because we're all in this together. And we like to, be competitive against each other. But at the end of the day, we HBCU family. And I always like to just remind people to remember that. And so on that note, Coach, enjoy the rest of your weekend, you and your family, and continue to be safe, mask up, and all of that good stuff. And oh, by the way, Coach, looks like you've, man, I got to get with the program. Looks like everybody is really getting in shape during this pandemic. What is wrong with me?
Well, no, man. Well, you know, we've been working hard and haven't had too many late burgers. I've been trading those in for salads and getting a chance to kind of get out there and walk and I engage into this hot yoga thing that our athletic department is doing. And so, I've been able to take advantage of that a little bit and get some of the stress off me. So come on and join me, man. You all right?
Okay. Invitation accepted.
Hey, look, we can reggae it out.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Got to get that win back. Appreciate it, Coach Banks. Take care.
All right.
We'll talk soon.
One love. Go Jack.
All right. That was Coach Roman Banks, Director of Athletics at the Southern University. We went a little bit long, but that's okay. What I would like to do is take a quick time out, come back and visit with Coach Pettaway, and then we'll give the remaining 10 to 12 minutes to Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. But one thing I always appreciate about Coach Banks, he's always transparent. He's a realist. And that you can appreciate. Him and other guests. You can really appreciate that. Take a quick time out. You're listening to the Coles Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine. Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's the open mic with Dr. Mike. The open radio and the Mike Prince Show. The open mic broadcast network. The open mic broadcast network.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
We'd like to recognize sponsors.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. I'm going to visit now with Coach Van Pettaway. Coach, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Carlos. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here. You doing okay?
Yeah, doing fine. I hope you all are doing okay as well.
Well, I'm doing okay, and if I had the luxury of being in the bubble, like the NBA has done, minus a few distractions, maybe I would be in a different setting, but hey, I'm still safe. Thank God.
and that seems to be going well too. That bubble for them, I think it was a great idea. I know it's rather expensive for the NBA, and you know, you hear talk of the NCAA saying that they're going to do their tournament in the bubble. I can see them doing the Final Four in the bubble, but I don't see how you can have 68 teams in a bubble.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what the last guest, Coach Banks, was saying. That's going to be kind of tough. But speaking of the bubble, but if I move to another sport, did you see where the Seattle Seahawks player was tried to get a unannounced guest in, and albeit they said he wasn't going to make the team, but it was a big news story. I guess he was just being human on the male side.
Right, but that's called sacrifice. You're in a pandemic, so there are certain things that you can't do that you normally would be doing if the pandemic, if this virus was not here. So you know, if he had not made the team, that helped them make their decision about him, because he is not going to follow rules and regulations.
But I wonder if it was Russell Wilson. Well, wait a minute. Now, don't use Russell Wilson. He's married. But let's say if he was trying to, say if he was, well, anyway, let's move away from that one. Well, that was the thing of getting caught with your hand in the cookie jar.
Well, yeah, that's just like going out buying your wings in the wrong place.
Oh boy. Yeah.
That's
I'm
true fact. Now, I'm not making anything up now.
Well, yeah, I understand, and you get to the point where it makes you go,
Right, because see, you know what? Let me tell you what that reminds me of now. When you give your life to Christ, you're not supposed to be doing the same things that you were doing before. You're supposed to be a better person. So, so when you're given an opportunity to make some money and continue your craft, shouldn't you do things differently than you did before? Because
I like the word you used earlier, sacrifice. You have to sacrifice certain urges and needs. And you remember the old saying, how can I put this? You know, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Right.
So you know, a month or two with and I understand being young like that at one point, but it just makes it so much. You know, you appreciate it more.
Right. And see, we as collegiate coaches, we have to send that message out every year. We have to act like it's a pandemic, because you have to ask your players to make sacrifices during the course of the season. You can't go out and do the things that you were doing during the summer, because now it's the season. It's time to get down to business. So all that partying and other things that your fellow students are doing, you can't do that. You can't do that. So sacrifices have to be made.
And you know, it's interesting because that brings up something. I remember Coach Kadar told me, you know, some of the things about recruiting, right, and the local kid, and he would say sometimes it was tougher because there's extra pressure because if someone's had much success locally, and now you're recruiting them, and now you've brought them into your program, but they have to realize that everybody starts at zero.
Right, and see, that was, if you remember, I had an opportunity working with Coach Joe. This was his philosophy. You don't recruit. This is what he told me in recruiting. You do not recruit a local kid unless that kid can start for us. He says, because there's too much pressure on a local kid, and then we bring him in and he has to sit. He said that's not a good look. That's not something you want. He said, so you only go after the best local kids that can help you immediately. And that was his philosophy.
Yeah, because I can see that, say if he's the seventh man and we're talking about basketball here. And then you're going to hear, people are humanity. Well, he should be getting this. He should be getting more player time. He should start. And then I think that would weigh on the young man and young lady if they're hearing this.
Correct. So that coach was right. It is more pressure on that local kid, and then at the same time, it puts more pressure on the coach.
Yeah, I could understand that. And then, some players, I think, there are exceptions. They welcome the challenge. They've done great. And I guess it goes to mindsets now. And as far as coaching, I mean, you're the expert on that. Pressure can get to you as well if you allow it.
Correct.
See, I from the outside looking in, again, I only based it on when I saw you come to the F.G. Clark Activity Center, but somehow I wouldn't think that pressure would get to you.
Well, no, I
wouldn't allow it.
That's what I was about to say. I get with my kids in the first meeting. Well, I get through with them really in the recruiting process. You coming to play for me, I coach you. I don't coach your parents. I don't need your parents in the program. And I tell parents that, I'm not gonna mistreat your child if it's a basketball decision when it comes to playing time and stuff like that. That's between me and your child. I don't involve parents. I said this is not high school anymore. You see that a lot on the high school level. The person that has the biggest pockets in the booster club, that's whose kids play. Well, it's not like that in college, because whether you're giving money to my program or not, I have my own criteria for who plays and who does not play. So we don't even bring that into the equation, and that's really explained to the kids in our first meeting, the first time your feet hit campus, first team meeting. We go through all of that, So, and then that takes a lot of that away. And you don't see as much then. And Coach, we're looking at now like schools are welcoming student athletes back to campus now, and albeit it's in a global pandemic time, but before this time, like your basketball players, they have to report to school just like everybody else. And albeit their season is a little bit further down the line, teaching and coaching and rules and regulations, I'm sure you start with them day one, even if they, came to summer school. Right. Well,
you're laying it down, the situation right then.
See, this time of the year was always special for me because this is when we show our kids how to serve the community and how to give back. During my years of coaching as head coach, I asked permission to bring my student athletes back the first day that the freshmen reported. Our first project as a team, we helped move in freshmen, not just on the team. All female freshmen, we were assigned dorms. And my kids helped those parents and those new people move their luggage and stuff in. It was a form of showing our interest in the new kids. And I told my kids this. I said, listen, in the long run, we'll benefit from this. I said, because you're welcoming these freshmen to campus. They see that you're part of the team because you got on your A&M basketball paraphernalia. Now, they're going to remember that. And they'll show you some courtesy by coming to your games. And this was just one of the things, along with, reading a book program and getting out in the community doing stuff. This is just one of the projects that was a part of my program. We did this every year.
And that's outstanding. And the campus, I've only been there, once or twice, and it's a while back, but it's beautiful campus.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's gorgeous. I have to be brutally honest. And I haven't visited every institution in the conference, and I guess that's something to put on the bucket list before I leave God's green earth. But I can't speak on Alabama A&M. But very interesting visiting with Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Coach, you keep up with a little NBA?
Oh yes. I that's been the saving grace so far. When they started the games in the bubble, I was able to watch some of, and I'm not a big NBA fan. I like college basketball, but because there's nothing else to do, I watched a little NBA this summer.
Well, very good, because maybe you could help me with something. When I first started watching the restart, it gave me the ambience. It gave me the appearance of like when you watch the Summer League for rookies in the NBA.
Correct.
Okay, I understand there's no, very little crowd, if any, but just personnel.
Correct.
But my question is, I guess, the play. It seems like they're shooting more threes, attempting more threes, and boy, they're making them. And offensively, is there some method to the madness, or is it B? It was this way because maybe they were trying to get back into playing shape.
Well, I think you got more threes going anyway because that's the way the league was going before the pandemic. It seems to me it seems like they're shooting more, but maybe I'm wrong on that. You're saying it was like that. It might seem that way to you, Carlos, because you're watching more. You're watching more back-to-back games, whereas before, I doubt very seriously if you watched the game every day that they came on before the pandemic. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the stats would show that they're shooting the three ball, about as much as they were before the pandemic started, before the bubble.
Interesting.
And then the other thing, because of the 5-month layoff, I think it's easier on the players to go ahead and shoot the three than to do all this driving, because it takes less effort to shoot the three than it is to put the ball on the floor and fight through the defenders to get to the basket. So that jump shot, that's easier on the body than it is to keep going to the basket. And they gotta slowly work their way back. That's what these 8 bubble games were for, so that they can prepare themselves for the playoffs, which should start next week. You got the play-in game today, and Memphis has to win 2 just to advance. All Portland has to do is win 1, and they're the 8th seed, and your prize for that is you get the Lakers.
Well, guess what, Coach? Listening to the prognosticators, the national ones, Barkley, all those good guys who know, like you, what they're talking about. I'm just a fan for it basketball-wise. Were the Lakers just going through the motions? Was it because of the layoff? Because are they still favored? In your humble opinion?
I personally don't think they are. I think the layoff hurt them more than any other team because they had their mojo prior to the season being shut down, and they just haven't gotten it. I personally feel like they're in trouble. And if they play Portland, they're really in trouble because Portland has the guards that can fill it up, and the Lakers right now, they don't have the guards to defend them.
Valid point. I've heard that point made by, like I say, several of the prognosticators. A listener, Edwin, says AAU positionless ball has made it to and taken over the NBA. Threes for days.
Right, and they're telling the truth because when Coach Joe was scouting for the Knicks, the things that he and I are accustomed to seeing and believing in, they didn't see it the same way. They were looking for positionless players. They didn't go back to the traditional way. They looked for people that could play multiple positions.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the time, they really weren't looking for rookies. They wanted experienced players. So they really spent a lot of money on scouting and evaluating players. And it was just glory for us because it's just, we're going to different cities and we're seeing the game that we love, knowing that they're not going to take our advice because they're looking for veterans. We out looking at college players.
Yeah, well, we know Ben Joe's philosophy and the influence on many in NCAA basketball. But Coach, if I can, Portland, Lakers, Clippers, that's kind of in the West. Houston in the mix, you think, with when they literally went small ball, really
but
small
the problem
ball.
now is Westbrook. What's the status of Westbrook? Remember, he didn't play the last. There's some chatter about whether or not he's really hurt.
Interesting.
Yep, and that will really hurt Houston's chances. I don't think they can win a championship with small ball, but they can upset some teams because of matchup problems.
Well, and that's interesting you bring that up because in the playoffs it's usually about matchups, and the game usually slows down and work in, then you work out in the post. But I don't know. We'll see how that works out in the playoffs because I think it'll still be continuous 3 points attempt. Coach, quickly in the East, I'm not sold on Milwaukee just yet. I mean, they had the best record, but if I can toot my team, the Heat, they basically were 2-1 against them, although in the reset they were up by 23 in one game, up by 17 at the half, and they lost by 16. But are you sold on Milwaukee?
No, I'm not. I think not only should they be concerned about the Heat, they better be worried about Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two teams that I think can give Milwaukee all they can handle. And the dark horse over on the east side would be Boston.
That is interesting. I think Toronto, from a defensive standpoint, they are smothering people.
Yep.
I will say the Heat. I think the Heat better days are ahead. They're dangerous. I wouldn't put them as a sleeper per se, but they will be a tough out. Whoever gets
because they play defense. They get it done on the defensive end.
And now a team that struggled offensively up until maybe a game ago, they were one of the top teams in the restart and shooting the three and the 3-point percentage.
Right.
So the future looks good. Future looks good for the Miami Heat. It was something else I wanted to go over with you quickly. The New Orleans Pelicans. Some people hold it against me that that's not my NBA team because I'm from this area. But the New Orleans Pelicans, according to the listener, have dismissed Coach Alvin Gentry. Sources tell me. What do you think about Gentry? And then I'll follow up with a comment.
Well, I really think he's a good coach. I think the way they want to play, they want to play through Zion. But this is just Van Pelt way. Zion has to get in shape. I don't think you're going to get his potential until he gets his body. His body needs to become an NBA body. Right now, to me, he still has that collegiate body, and that's not going to work over the long haul. And I think that's why they had to they had to reduce his time, play him in spurts, and that kind of stuff. I think Gentry is one of the better coaches, but they've got to figure out a way of getting their best players to perform every night. They got inconsistency at the point. That's a key position on the team. So Gentry should still be there, in my opinion.
Well, and to me, Coach, Gentry, it just seems like I'm used to him, when he was at the Clippers, and he likes to play up tempo. I just thought from a defensive standpoint, that's where the Pelicans really are challenged. My goodness. And to Zion, what you're talking about. I'm looking at him, and I see what he did at Duke. I know the NBA is different. I didn't know if he was still injured, but you have said what Charles Barkley has talked about, and he played heavy at times in the NBA, but not in shape. But the way you referenced it, you said NBA. Say it again, NBA shape? Oh, he doesn't have the NBA body.
Right, the NBA body, because, see, his body was okay for college because he does not have to run and do as much. But in the NBA, it's different. He's one of the liabilities on defense for them. Have you ever seen him play defense? He doesn't.
That's a good point. I mean, he just doesn't seem. Coach, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know if it was part of it was like, okay, I don't think he's completely healed. Is he still injured? And then I'm thinking, is he in shape or is it something else going on? He just doesn't look right.
Watch what I tell you. They're going to retool his body and you'll see a different person, a different player, rather.
Mm.
Oh, no. No, he was definitely the number one collegiate player out there. It's just that in order for that to translate onto the next level, which is the NBA, they got to retool. He has to retool his body.
Well, I'll mark that down.
Yep. And just watch what I tell you. That's going to be one of the things that'll make him better, the transformation of his body.
And I guess I have to take the emotion out of it with the Pelicans. I just miss Monty Williams. They played defense.
Right.
And he was the coach there, and he's doing well in Phoenix now.
Correct. Doing outstanding. And I hate they had to bite the bullet. They go down there undefeated, and then they're not in the playoff. That's crazy.
Well, they're a team to look forward to watching and see what happens next year. So, well, with that being said, Coach, we appreciate your insight as always, and I made a note of that. I take what you say, and I look at that very crucially. I've marked that down about Zion. Like I said, just something didn't seem right with him, but we will look forward to seeing how the Pelicans will retool. They've got some weapons. They've got a bunch of draft choices, particularly in the second round. Let's see if they're going to just retool the whole team or they're just going to add a few pieces, a little subtraction, and maybe some addition.
But real quickly, with this pandemic, how are they going to really evaluate the collegiate players when they're not going to get a full season in? So that's another thing you got to be conscious. You can have the draft picks, but if you don't have the resources or the knowledge that you need to draft people in the second round, it's going to be a little tough now.
Yeah, but you know what, Coach? I think they're going to go after some young NBA talent that's already in the league.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't think they're going to be able to build just from rookies. And rookies could help with the right fit, but with all those draft choices, I might get on the phone with New Orleans on behalf of the Heat and see if I can get Holiday for some. No, I'm not giving up the young talent Miami has. Nope.
Yep.
But it's always interesting to look and see how you can always try to make your team better. You always, you can tinkle a little bit if you get my drift. But Coach, stay safe.
Okay, thank you. You guys be safe.
Thank you. Will do.
And God bless.
God bless.
All right. Bye-bye.
Coach Van Pettaway joining me here on the Carlos Brown Show. We're going to take a quick time out, come back, and spend some few minutes with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and another, and many, many more, and we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most. like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Join us for a daily episode of the Mike Prince Show right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You...
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine. Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to this last segment of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Going to visit with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you. I had to get you on some kind of way.
Good morning. Glad to be on with you.
I'm glad to have you. Well, Charles, a lot of things going on in the world of college athletics. NBA conferences are deciding to postpone their fall sports to the spring. Kind of get your thoughts on the landscape of what's going on in college athletics.
Well, I'm glad that the SWAC and the MEAC and our other ECC brethren conferences decided to, what in my opinion, do the right thing and pause fall sports. And now you're seeing the Power 5 be whittled down to the Power 3, and now we're going to see what the real deal is with the Power 3 that's left. I do think that that's going to probably come to an end, too, at some point. They bought themselves some more time with games in the SEC starting September 26th, so they have some more time, but not much time. I know there's an effort for those conferences to play. The kids, student athletes said they want to play, even though you talk with various health experts, they say at this point in time it's not appropriate to play. So it's just back and forth. And, it's science and medicine versus money and politics. I'll take the politics out of it right now, but I think it's science and medicine versus money. And I think safety has come over the top to help make the decision to cancel the conference games and the games in the other conferences that have taken a pause, like the SWAC and MEAC and others. But these other big money conferences, the three that are left, still hanging on. But I do think at some point a decision will be made. And I do, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to happen, but I might be wrong. I think they'll probably try to proceed because there's just too much money to lose and too big to fail. And I think the spring is not an option because a lot of kids, especially the ones that are going to be drafted, are probably not going to play in the spring. So there's a lot of moving pieces still, but at the end of the day, is it appropriate? Could we play? Should we play? Can we play? And I think those are the questions that are still being answered by the conference leaders and presidents and chancellors in schools that are still have an opportunity to play.
And even when you look on the high school level, same situation. Some are delaying the season start to October, some 2 or 3 weeks later. You see school has started for states, and immediately you see quarantine going on. Students with COVID-19. I just, in my humble opinion, I just don't see how. Now, I know in Utah they did start football, but we'll have to see what happens as far as after that first couple of games. Let's see what the test results are going to be. But for the most part, it's simply a liability issue. That's one of the factors. And I wouldn't want to be held liable when science says, nah, let's not do this. But what do you think about high school athletics?
Well, here in Mississippi, the High School Association announced yesterday, or at least the Jackson Public School, which is the biggest district in the state, one of the biggest districts in the state. At first, they announced that they were going to postpone fall sports, but then they took it back last week, and they said, hold on. And then they announced yesterday evening that they were, in fact, pausing fall sports. So, I mean, that was kind of expected, but it wasn't official until last night. And you read on social media, some parents say thank you, others are saying why. The private schools are still marching forward. As a matter of fact, there was high school jamborees last night and last week. Private schools are still moving forward with their season. The jamborees will be next week and the week after. I know here, I do Vicksburg High, their jamboree is still scheduled for the 28th. That's 2 Fridays, prior to Friday after next. Season will start the Friday before Labor Day. That's still on for right now. So I think it's a district-by-district thing. The High School Association has not canceled high school football or fall sports. I think there's some pressure by parents in which they're saying, yes, it's a safety issue, but at the same time, what are these kids going to do in terms of what's going to keep them busy? And that's that dynamic. I think that's a part of a political play that the governor is having to deal with right now. He says he wants to have high school sports. He announced that attendance is going to be limited to 2 guests per player, and that means basically students won't be able to attend their games at their stadiums. That could change, obviously, but that's one of the directives he came up with a couple of days ago. So there's just still a lot of moving pieces in terms of whether we're going to have football or not. It's collapsing as we speak with the colleges, and I think if the big 3 that are still left, if they decide to pause, I do think that there's going to be pressure to do something with high school football, even though the studies say that for younger kids, contracting the virus, having it and all that, the risk is very, very low. But don't tell that to parents, because parents are still, having their kids take classes virtually. So there's still a lot of moving pieces out there. It's some politics. It's a lot of emotion, and just trying to keep their kids safe and keep them busy and active as well. All that now is thrown in the bag here as high school football is getting ready to start.
Yeah, a listener colleague says, tell them to read a book or 2 if they're bored. I think of what Lieutenant General Honorary said. You got 50 different plans out there, and this is how I look at the high school associations. You got one state doing this, one state doing this, one state doing that. You have several say, well, no, we're going to shut it down, and I don't know.
I will say this, Carlos, and this is where, we're seeing what's going on, and I've said this on your show before, and I've told people this as well. We can control as best as we can what's going to happen going forward. At some point, college football, as far as HBCU football, we're going to do everything we can not to put it on the back burner. But at some point, we'll see what the NFL is going to do. They're struggling with the bubble. They're trying to create a bubble. Players are opting out. We'll see how the NFL thing is going to go. I think they're going to go forward. They have the money. They have the resources and the testing to make it happen. But if nationally, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, and we're going to have this conversation again in November, whether or not what's going to happen in the spring, if things don't improve, we're not going to have spring football. And the commissioner, Dr. Charles McClellan, has gone on record as saying this. And I think other commissioners are kind of saying the same thing. So I think, even though we're still talking about what's happening in the present, and we know that football is being paused right now, if we don't do what we're supposed to do in the spring, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be the same ball game again. We're going to be fussing and cussing all over again. So let's start now. Let's do what we're supposed to do. And let's just see how this goes. Let's just do the right thing. We did it for about a month and a half, and then we flipped. Let's get back to that, and let's see numbers go down, and then we can have some sense of normalcy.
Some sense of normalcy. We'll start in November. You know that date. Keep it in mind. Heaven help us. November the 3rd, isn't it? I say that, well, in some cases, if you're going to vote by mail, get it done early. Oh, unbelievable. Enjoy your weekend, Charles. We appreciate the time.
I appreciate it, Charles. You all stay safe.
All right. Stay safe, Charles. Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. I want to thank Coach Roman Banks, Dan Ryan, and Coach Van Pettaway, and, of course, Dr. Michael Prince. Everyone out there, continue to be safe. And I appreciate you as always. Remember, support Black media, all the platforms, financially as well as other opportunities. We appreciate you as always. Until next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. As always, peace and God bless.